Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of the Daily Crypto Byte. Today is Wednesday, July 28th, and we got some exciting price action. We broke 40K. ETH has been climbing as well. Alts have been performing well, so we'll cover all that today and a lot more. And as always, I'm joined by my two esteemed co-hosts, Jon Dr. J Najarian and CJ Reichel. How are you doing today, gents?
Doing pretty well. Thank you, Monty. Interesting day, you're right. Lots of stuff going on with cryptocurrencies. It's amazing the sorts of FUD that mainstream tries to push constantly: fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And if you had any doubt that that's the case, folks, when you get a chance, just pull up a story about I think Andy Sewer over at Yahoo Finance sat down with the head of the WWF. And no, I don't mean Vince McMahon, because, of course, WWF is World Wildlife Federation. Vince McMahon used to call his thing the WWF because he was basically paying World Wildlife Federation. It's a whole twisted thing. But anyway, they're the WWE, Vince McMahon, World Wildlife Federation, people that care and want to save animals and habitat and all that. Well, so that's the person you'd probably go to talk about Bitcoin, right? Not that he couldn't be a smart person, but he says Bitcoin is not a currency. And I'm sitting there trying to think of, okay, exactly why would anybody ask the head of the WWF whether Bitcoin was a currency? Why? I mean, you could ask Christine Lagarde, the head of, you could grab the head of the World Bank. You could grab the head of the Fed. You could, grab various Fed governors and ask them. But the head of a charitable organization, I believe they're a 501c3, they probably can take Bitcoin, is my guess, because a lot of charities can these days take, various crypto, in particular Bitcoin, in as a donation. But why would I care if he thinks it's a currency? And by the way, I don't use it as a currency. I just either trade it in my wallet that's online, or I just hodl it in my wallet that's offline. I don't get this whole thing about trying to make Bitcoin sound less important by saying it's not a currency. I don't get it.
Oh, well, the funny thing is that, Bitcoin doesn't really care. A currency does not have to be optional. Bitcoin has been a reliable currency in terms of dark web marketplaces ever since 2013 or 2012. Money is whatever somebody will pay for something with. And if there's somebody who will accept it, it is therefore money. But I digress. Monty, you got anything to say about price action or charts you'd like to lead us into?
Well, before we get into the charts, I wanted to lead with this while we were on the topic of FUD. Senator Warren, she was talking about crypto yesterday. And of course, she put out some more FUD, not surprising given, her position or even her demographic. But I thought it was pretty funny that she said that the crypto puts the financial system in the hands of shadowy supercoders, which to me is, this is the epitome of FUD right here, because the word shadowy, obviously a negative connotation, but in reality, Bitcoin operates on an entirely open source system. It's the most transparent financial system, ever created. And I think a great example would be this. You can look at Bitcoin's open source code at any given time, but ask a banker to open his books and you'll probably get a much different response. So, I think that this is just some classic FUD. I don't think it's had too much effect on the market, but, there were a lot of talks about regulations being laid down. She's pressing Janet Yellen to put some regulations in place. And I wouldn't be too surprised if we ended up this year with some massive regulations being laid down before we, wrap up the year. So this is just FUD for the time being, but don't be too surprised if we continue to see pressure on the regulation front.
Well, I'm changing my profile on Twitter as we speak too, Monty. And I'm adding, quote, shadowy supercoder as a part of my profile. And I think you guys should consider it as well. Because Janet Yellen, thank God we didn't have to deal with her as a president. And now she's just kind of lost in the, twisting around, going after banks or, whatever. But I am, I guess, a shadowy super coder. I'm helping right now Earth Fund launch a token. I'm working with some guys that we're going to do another charity token. And I can't disclose what that is yet, but I'll discuss it with Monty and CJ offline.
I don't even know what you're talking about, Jon.
Exactly. But I am sitting here just befuddled as to why she needs to run her mouth about anything like this. Shadowy super coders. Okay. Rather than, a bunch of elite folks that went to Ivy League colleges that are going to decide, well, we're going to hold rates at zero forever, even if it screws anybody who's living on off their pension and so forth, because they can't invest money and make any money unless they own crypto. Because if you own USDC, you can make about 10% over at Voyager. Yes, that is a plug because they are a sponsor of this show. If you use the code REBEL25 when you open your account, you'll get $25 in Bitcoin. And they will also pay you interest on probably at least 15 different cryptos where they'll pay you interest into the double digits between, the low end, maybe 4% to the high end, depending, it's how active these things are borrowed and so forth, because this is just like stock loan for stocks. And you shouldn't view it as shadowy, folks. She probably views stock loan as shadowy, by the way. But if you don't have stock loan, if I couldn't sell IBM short, I could never sell puts. Either that or I'm just taking on the huge risk of being wrong and losing a lot of money. So what traders do when they're hedging, they buy stock when they're writing upside calls. They sell stock when they're writing puts. Selling is writing. So when they're writing puts, that's what they do. And if you want a more efficient market, you need people out there with the ability to borrow. So that's where you're getting all these different. And look, in crypto, they actually give you a piece, a perfect stranger. They're giving you a piece of the stock loan. They're saying, you know what? We're paying 6%, 7% for deposited Bitcoin. That helps the ecosystem because now there's a two-sided market in the ecosystem because people can buy puts that want puts. The people that sell them those puts need to be able to borrow the Bitcoin and sell it. So anyway, it's just kind of stupid that people focus on the wrong things as usual.
That was a nice transition from Warren ranting to, Voyager
ranting.
I like it.
Yeah. And isn't this the exact face that you'd want ranting out there? Some guy wearing a bandana and a boonie cap ranting about this.
Yes, you could be definitely the face of crypto, Jon. You fit that character type. But while we're talking about, Voyager and brokerages and exchanges, CJ, you shared a really interesting metric this morning in chat about exchange outflows. One of the most bullish metrics I've seen in a very long time. You want to take a look at that and tell the people kind of what this means for the crypto market in general?
Yeah, let me go ahead and bring up the actual charts here. If we look at Glassnode and exchange withdrawal data, we can see that there's been roughly 3 spikes this morning, totaling about $2.5 billion in total Bitcoin that has been withdrawn from exchanges. And this is filtered from unique addresses. So this is not just, an exchange reorganizing its wallet. These are massive whales or one whale moving Bitcoins from the exchange to cold storage. And the other chart that goes with that is that you can see the staircase down in the drop of balance on Bitcoin or balance of Bitcoin on exchanges as well. So typically when we see things like that, it is indicative of a whale storing Bitcoin and putting it away because they think a rally is about to start. It also helps that total thesis of, accumulation and having less liquidity on spot exchanges. So then, we kind of get more volatile as a result. So that was pretty interesting, and interested to hear your guys' thoughts on that one as well.
Mine would be just quickly, Monty. Mine would be exactly probably what you're implying, CJ, that some whales bought a bunch down there on the dip, had it on the exchange, were ready, that if it failed, they were probably ready to do like you. If we kept going down, you would have held on to those puts. If it kept going down and they had the these coins on the exchange, they could hit that bid and get out. But instead, they put it into cold storage, took it off the exchange. So in all likelihood, they're viewing that as a longer term hold now that we held at that level. What do you think, Monty?
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was going to say. So I'll just echo that sentiment. And, as well, we're kind of in an interesting point here in terms of where we're at with price. And I think Danny Armada in chat makes a great point. We see these massive outflows happening, in tremendous numbers. But given the fact that we've had a bit of a run up in the last week, we're also seeing some exchange inflows as well. And I want to take a look at the Bitcoin chart as well, because I think it makes sense that we're seeing some people, look to take profits given the price action we've seen in the last week. And, CJ, we talked yesterday about how, we're pretty bullish on the overall market, but this kind of, to me, seems like a bull trap given the, declining volume that we've seen over the last 3 days. The fact that we're approaching a major resistance level at 42K and we're unable to break that on, pretty significant momentum. We're showing a large positive divergence from the smooth moving average. And, I think that this is the biggest one right here, this declining volume. It's going to take a lot of buy pressure to break through 42K. This is a very critical level. We've seen a lot of profit taking happen here historically, and it's going to take a lot of buy pressure to break through this level. So I wouldn't be too surprised if those, inflows that Danny Armada was talking about there onto Gemini and, Bitfinex, those are more likely short-term traders, that are just trying to take profit on this swing, because it is looking, somewhat set for reversal to a retest of this moving average. That's just what I'm seeing. I think it's, definitely possible. But the fact that people are moving these coins into cold storage in such large numbers, for me, is a good indication that we are approaching the bottom. And, we always talk about accumulation and distribution. And, it's starting to seem, and it's being supported by the metrics, to be the perfect time to be accumulating Bitcoin. So we're at a bit of a crossroads in terms of, short-term price action and long-term price action. So I think today could be a bit of a critical day.
Yeah, and if I may share, I totally agree with all those points, Monty. I think you really bring some good insights with the daily chart there. I want to show the daily chart as well, but also present a perspective kind of from last bear market and where we actually bottomed. So, if we look at the chart, and if we are to call a bottom here, let's look at what was consistent in our previous two bottoms. We have this massive spike in bearish sell pressure when we initially bottom, because that is the trade where traders are coming to the market and they're coming to the order book saying, get me out at any price. That's what the capitulation volume is in that sense. Same thing here with COVID, and same thing here in the bear market of 3K. If you'll notice, when we were at 3K, we had a very large spike. And I think this was a lot of short liquidations as well back in the day, something kind of similar to what we saw last week and this week, if my memory serves me correctly. But the thing that's key, and the reason why I don't think that this rally is necessarily going to last, it could go to 42K. Sure, it could go to 45K. But for me, that's not really the point in terms of the overall trend and calling a bottom. For me, the key difference with the trend here and what we have to see, or what we want to see from the bullish perspective, is whenever this trend ends or profit takers come in, I want to see the trend put in a new higher low, very similar to how we did in the bear market bottom here, and then broke out from the ascending triangle and created a new parabolic run. So I'm very optimistic that that's what we're starting to see. But with Monty, I'm totally in agreement that I think we definitely will probably see some profit taking here in the next day, or potentially 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, I want to highlight another comment from chat, CJ. This one is mostly for you because you were one of the first people I remember, applying this model to the current price action, and that's the Wyckoff distribution. And Danny says you could basically overlay Wyckoff on Bitcoin, and it was good before, but it's even better now with that quick drop below 30K. Any thoughts on that? Is that something that you're still expecting to play out?
Yeah, I haven't followed it too closely. I did reference it back a couple weeks back, but generally it kind of goes in with the idea of like a conjoined head and shoulders pattern. Obviously we fell, and now we kind of created that bottom head and are now coming back up. That's pretty similar to the Wyckoff distribution curve as well, or I should say Wyckoff accumulation. And so, yeah, that's followed the trend very accurately, and it's been interesting to watch. And I'll definitely post an update here now that I've figured out that the correlation has gotten even tighter. So thank you for bringing that up in chat, sir.
I think that one of the things that perhaps I don't think, first of all, I don't think CJ and Monty miss anything, folks. Because, and if they do, it's probably just meals and sleep because they're in that damn crypto room 24/7. But I'll also point out that Amazon has walked back a lot of the chatter guys. Now, it's true that they are indeed, that they posted that they're looking for a lead crypto person. But they refused to comment and said more or less, we're not going to say that we are or aren't doing that as far as creating their own cryptocurrency, their own token. But they have said we are going to continue to explore what is best for our customers and whether or not they would like to use cryptocurrencies to pay. They didn't say outright that that's something going on in the background right now, that they're building it out. A day ago and 2 days ago, when the rumor first broke, that's what everybody was thinking, and or that's what they were hoping. So what I'll point out is normally when a big company like Amazon reverses, because we did have that 15% jump, when they reverse, or not necessarily reverse, when they come out and make a statement that doesn't endorse the news that was out there, I would think that that would create some FUD. Just the opposite. Hasn't done that. I mean, Bitcoin today, like you guys said, hit 40,000 again, and is churning along. What is it right now? 39,755. So it's up $1,800. So, like I say, we're talking about a move that carried it to this level, and then it pulled back into the 37,000 range. Amazon comes out and says, "Not so fast," and it goes up $1,800. That should tell you a little bit about something. So in other words, I'm pushing back slightly against CJ and Monty's trepidation at this level. But they've had a lot more experience with crypto than I have. So I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying when you overcome some FUD like that, that's pretty strong move in the market, whether it's a squeeze or whether it's new entrants and or whales that are piling in and saying, okay, that was the correction, and now it's time to be back in.
Yeah, and that's a great point, John, as well, because, I think one thing that we talk a lot about on this channel as well. Oh, excuse me here 1 second. Sorry about that. Should we move on to ETH? Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Because I think ETH is definitely worth mentioning today because, like you mentioned, CJ, we've been waiting for this sort of interim higher low here. We're not getting it quite yet, hitting resistance at a critical level here for ETH, which is about 2,400. And I think if we fail to make this higher low here, this could spell trouble for the rest of the market, particularly a lot of the alts and the DeFi assets as well. We've talked about institutional interest in DeFi. That is one other thing I want to quickly mention while I'm on the topic of ETH is this news that came out of Goldman yesterday. Goldman Sachs files for a DeFi ETF application. Not too big news yet. Obviously, they're just filing for an ETF, and we've seen how many crypto ETFs have been shot down over the years. Wouldn't be too surprising if this one, didn't come to fruition. But what I will say is that, over the last couple of weeks, we've been seeing a tremendous amount of interest flood into the DeFi space from an institutional standpoint. I talked yesterday on Trade the Chain about how, for the most part, DeFi and ETH has been bolstered by retail capital. But I think one thing that could be very different in this next market cycle is the presence of institutional capital in ETH and in the DeFi sector. So that's definitely something to look out for. Watch for more moves from companies like Goldman, or even, for things like CME open interest and or just, more Ethereum options being traded. That's typically a sign of institutional interest as well. But getting back to interim price action, it is similar to Bitcoin in the sense that, we're topping at these critical levels. I talked yesterday how this was a bit of a shooting star, or this shooting star candle was kind of being followed by a doji candle, but we're actually able to push up here. Now this 8 candle is looking a bit doji-ish, and we're set to mint a TD sell 9 tomorrow. So not looking too good for ETH. I still think that, in order for us to flip bullish, we need to break and close above this level here of approximately 2,400 and, set up that new higher low. That's the equivalent of about 42K for Bitcoin. And until we do that, I still think there is the possibility of retesting these lower levels here of 1850. So that's what I'm seeing for ETH for the time being. And curious to hear what you guys are thinking as well.
It looks like a very nice W bottoming pattern. Yeah, I think there's been a turning point in the trend, and I've been buying a lot of crypto, ever since kind of last week, yesterday, and we'll continue to do so. But yeah, gentlemen, do you have any doges of the day, despite the fact we are a little overextended, some might say?
Well, I haven't added, and a little bit of it is because of your guys' trepidation. So I would love to see us push through 40. And, of course, we think we're going to hit resistance at 44, 42, and then 44, but 1,000 that is. But I am not adding right here, but I'm really happy with, Uni. We talked about Link, Chainlink, as well as Leo. I'm still holding all of those right now.
Very nice. Yeah, so I want to talk about one that it's a little different. It's one we've talked about before. It's Cardano. But the reason why I'm picking it today is because, I'm kind of trying to bake in that possibility for a bit of a reversal in Bitcoin and ETH. So I'm looking for assets with strong support to the downside, but still have the possibility of making a break to the upside. So Cardano, I like in the sense that even when we've seen, very sharp sell-offs in Bitcoin and ETH, Cardano has actually managed to kind of hold its own and even show positive price action in days when the rest of the market is selling off. So if I'm anticipating a sell-off in the market, I'm going to look for a resilient asset like Cardano to perhaps, make a trade or even, make a move against the market when the rest of the market's selling off. But what I want to point out here is this support that we have below current price at about 1.16. For ETH, this level is comparably about 1850. So that's a much farther way down to go for ETH. I think if we did see a sharp sell-off come in the big boys like Bitcoin and ETH, a correction back to this level would be likely for Cardano. But when that move started back up, this thing could definitely take off to the upside. So I'm watching Cardano closely because I think that even if we were to get a wider market kind of reversal, Cardano is one that could still hold its own. And perhaps I'd be looking to enter it as we kind of retest that bottom level of about 1.16. So that is my Doge of the day today, Cardano.
Cool. Keep in mind, folks, that you can always join CJ and Monty as they're missing sleep and meals in the crypto room over at Market Rebellion. You just go to marketrebellion.com and put a backslash and say, try crypto. And marketrebellion.com/try crypto. You can join for $1 for your first month. You get thousands of traders in that room. You get several of our analysts other than CJ and Monty. And I think it's something that could really help your trading if you're getting into cryptocurrency on a more active basis now. So I'll leave it there.
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. That really helps us a lot on the channel. It's always free. Don't forget to hit that notification bell. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. And that's all I got for today.
That's all I got as well. We'll also be with the back with the member webinar today at 10 or 11:30 Central. Definitely check that out if you have any questions, any assets you missed, or any questions we didn't get to today. Definitely feel free to drop by. It's included in your $1 membership, so check it out. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you again tomorrow. Take care.